Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt, joined now by Dr. Michael Oren, former Israel ambassador to the United States. Dr. Oren, good to see you. I've got two stories here, one from the Financial Times. Israel Security Cabinet approves expansion of Gaza offensive. And from the Wall Street Journal, Israel approves plan to occupy Gaza, control aid distribution. What did they approve and how hard is it going to be?
Okay, what they approved was basically to have an expanded ground operation in Gaza. There's a big question whether they're going to wait until President Trump completes his visit to the Middle East. It's coming in about 2 weeks, um, and uh, and ramp up the pressure on Hamas entirely. Basically, push the Palestinian civilian population into a corner of Gaza and change the rules of the game. And I think we've talked about this before in this program, Hugh. I've been in favor of this for well over a year, that we have been negotiating with the wrong sort of currency, the wrong tender, if you will, with the Hamas. We've been negotiating with Hamas saying, well, you give us a certain number of hostages and we'll give you a certain number of ceasefire days and a great number of Palestinian terrorist prisoners released from our jails. And now we're going to change it because Hamas doesn't care about released prisoners. Hamas doesn't care about how many Palestinians are killed, doesn't really care about ceasefires. It cares about one thing, and that's land. So we take land and we say, okay, you want land back? You give us the hostages back. If you're not giving the hostages back, we'll say goodbye to the land. And that's what the Israeli army has done. In the past, we've gone into various neighborhoods of Gaza and killed Hamas terrorists and then withdrawn, and Hamas comes back. But this time, we're going to take it and hold it and keep that pressure up. So that's the plan. What are the difficulties? They are legion, those difficulties. First of all, the Army. The Army is tired. We've had soldiers who've served well over 400 days in combat. That's unheard of in international military terms. These are people who have left their families, left their jobs, have all sorts of psychological difficulties at this point. And the question is, they're going to have a big call up. Who's going to come? Second question is, there are political difficulties in this country, particularly the question of whether ultra-Orthodox Jews, citizens of the state, will serve in the army. And how do you have a situation where these young people, are being called up for another, 60, 80 days of combat, and the ultra-Orthodox are staying at home and studying? That is almost an impossible situation for the state of Israel. And then there's an international framework. Will there be condemnations in the Security Council? What will be the ultimate position of the Trump administration? On that issue, really nobody knows.
Well, I do think when Ambassador Michael Waltz gets there, he'll be working closely with President Trump. I can't imagine any negative Security Council resolutions getting through. But to go back to the clear and hold approach, how many soldiers does it take to do that? Gaza's not that big, but it's got that underground subterranean network, so it's not really what we see on the top. It's what we don't see that makes it a difficult place to clear and hold.
It is very difficult to clear and hold. We don't have that many soldiers. We're not the United States of America. We're a country of less than 10 million people. How many actually serve in the army? Is 21% of the country is Arab. 13% is ultra Orthodox. So you're really cutting down to a small percentage of the population relative that can serve in the military. We can still call up as many as 360,000 reservists. It's the equivalent of about 20 million Americans. I often say that's 4 million Americans more than served in all of World War II. But still, it's a tremendous burden on these families. It's really quite unimaginable. So I know from people on my own staff who tell me, they're in special forces. They tell me they're exhausted, they're tired, and they have young kids at home, and they don't get to see their kids for months at a time. So it's extremely difficult situation. And at the same time, as you know, we have been pummeled by rockets from the Houthis in Yemen. One hit not so far from where I'm sitting here right yesterday. We were in the bomb shelter. It hit in our airport. And Israeli Air Force struck at Yemen tonight at a number of targets in cooperation and coordination with the United States Armed Forces. But the Houthis, like Hamas, they don't care about their own civilians. They don't care if they're starved. They don't care if they're blown apart. And it's very difficult to deter them. And beyond it all is the huge, certainly existential issue, and that is the Iran nuclear program. And what is Israel going to do about that?
Well, now that brings me around to I understand what's going to go on in Gaza, and it's going to last a long time. It's going to take a lot of people. Does Israel have the resolve to strike at Iran if Donald Trump hesitates or if he's involved in these endless negotiations with them? I'm not sure that they'll be endless, but we know from past experience they tend to drag everything out as long as they can.
Well, I know that Israel does. I know that I do, and I know the people I talk to do. I'm not sure that the decision makers at the top do. They've balked several times, and have Iran struck us twice with long range ballistic missiles. We did not strike back at the nuclear program, and we've dithered on it, and I hope it's not too late. Israel does not have the capabilities that the United States have. We don't have strategic bombers. But our F-15s and our F-35s can do a heck of a lot of damage, and they can penetrate. They can penetrate the yards upon yards of concrete, as we learned in the strike against Mr. Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah in Beirut. He was hiding beneath 60 feet of concrete, and we got him. So yes, we do have the ability. I'd like to see also that we have the political will.
Now, last question, Michael. The families of the hostages are primarily against this operation, if I'm reading the media correctly, and they've lost the argument with the government. How long does it take for the rats to get cornered and either the hostages freed or resolution of where they are or are not arrived at?
Well, first of all, it's not all the hostage families. There are hostage families who concur with the government's position, and certainly don't want their loved ones to be traded for Palestinian terrorists who are going to go out and kill other people's loved ones on a much grander scale. There are people like that. But having said that, the majority of the hostage families are against the operation. They feel that this will basically doom their loved ones because Hamas won't give them up. And we've known from experience that when Hamas gets cornered and under pressure, it doesn't give up hostages. It executes the hostages. And how long this will take, whether there's some breaking point for Hamas, actually, nobody knows. We are dealing with an enemy that not only cares nothing about its own population, but prefers death to surrender. Not many people in the world like that. These people have the long view. They're thinking about history and how they'll be remembered by Muslim populations around the world. They want to be remembered as heroes and not as cowards who surrendered to the Israelis. And so it's going to be brutal. And there's no.
Have you asked anyone? Have you asked anyone who's been in the tunnels what percentage of the tunnels remain to be destroyed and how difficult that operation will be? I really can't imagine trying to blow up the New York City subway system, for example, and that's like this. We got a minute, Michael.
I think about 40% of the tunnels have been blown up so far. From what I understand from engineers I've talked to, you don't have to blow up all the tunnels because they're sort of in a star configuration. So if you blow up the center one, you don't have to blow up all the the spangles of the star. But Israel just simply runs out of C4 explosive material to blow them up. They're vast, and you try to maybe fill them up with concrete. The Egyptians had a process of filling them up with seawater. You can do that as well. But the problem is the hostages. We don't know where the hostages are. And so the problem is not just a lack of explosive materials or ways of stopping the tunnels. It's who's in the tunnel and whose lives are liable to be lost if you blow up those tunnels.
Dr. Michael Oren, follow him on X at Dr. Michael Oren on Substack as well as the Free Press. He's a fellow at the Wilson Center and he's a welcome guest here always. Thank you, Dr. Oren. I'll be right back, America. Stay tuned. Joe Concha is next.